So hello, happy to see you. I would like first of all to thank you along with the whole team for your trust and interest in our work here at Livetrend. We are amazed to see so many fashion professionals all around the world connected to our presentation. So we are very friendly at Livetrend, so you can see that at the moment all the microphones are off. But at the end of the presentation, don't be shy. We are here to listen to your question or talk with you. But please wait, for the end so everyone can enjoy the webinar. So let's start with what we are going to see today, because this is the first appointment of the year, and we have the chance to start to review together the fashion shows and the data we have been able to gather and detect, from the emerging trend. We will start from a quick intro about Livetrend, and then we will go to a quantitative analysis of the assortment of the fashion show, and then we'll deep dive into the trend stories with key look, details, accessories, to make a recap of the top trends of the season. So let's start with some presentation, because I see a lot of people who are joining us for the first time. I am Barbara Maiocchi. After 20 years in fashion as product and creative director, I have founded Livetrend, the first data-driven platform providing both trend analysis and competitive intelligence to help you capitalize on the right trends to produce more bestsellers and less unsold goods. With me today, we have Julia in charge of the forecasting and Simona in charge of the updates. And we have also Irene and Sabrina, our junior trend analyst. We miss Lucy, that is not speaking today, but you'll have the chance to meet her very soon in our event in Paris. The fashion team curates more than 400 reports per year, relying on our powerful data. We start with the forecast with 2 years in advance, and then we deliver the updates starting 1 year in advance. Great. Thanks to Livetrend, our clients can turn data into successful collection. We work with designers, with merchandisers, product managers, buyers, marketing and sales team to help them make faster, informed decisions. With Livetrend, designers and merchandisers develop collection with confidence, gaining 25% of productivity. Buyers avoid overstock and unsold inventory, buying the right product in the right quantity, and increasing best-selling product by minimum 15%. Retail merchandisers gain complete vision of their market, assortment prices, discount, and can quickly spot opportunities to outspace competition. With Livetrend, we drive creativity for more sustainability. And thanks to our technology that it's based on artificial intelligence, we detect and track the trend from the most influential sources, as the market, analyzing more than 70,000 products per week on e-commerce, the fashion show with more than 50,000 products per season, and on Instagram with more than 3 million images per month. As you can imagine, that amount of information is impossible to gather manually. And that's why we developed our technology, to give the most comprehensive and reliable information to make the right decisions. So with AI, we have automatized the time-consuming task to free time for creativity and strategy. So you can avoid basing your collection on intuition and being more efficient and more sustainable, producing the right product for your consumer. Today, we are able to analyze 1,040 fashion attributes through images and text, and to track their visibility and behavior, predicting the trend with exceptional reliability. With Livetrend, you can get a collaborative platform where you can stay up to date with the trends from the forecast to real-time analysis, and being able to go from global trend to a personalized vision of your own market. What you gain with Livetrend is to be more efficient, making the right data-driven decisions, increasing bestsellers while reducing your unsold stock. That is a big problem, we know, and also all the discounts that are killing your margins. If you would like to have more information about our methodology, feel free to write into the chat some question, and we will be happy to answer at the end of the webinar. Just a last slide before we go with the presentation today, because as we are fashion innovators, we are at the forefront of fashion tech, and we have been among the first to use image generation. With this technology, we can turn our million of data about trends into tangible product images, helping our clients to better visualize the future. This is an incredible technology, and we have generated new product design, new silhouettes, but also editorial images fusing the right ingredients. As you can see here, we use some of the top trends of the show, and then you can see on the left that when we prompt them into text, we can create new images as the one on the right. And that is not a picture, that is not a photo from the show. This is a complete new style. If you would like to have more information on how leverage AI for your collection, feel free to contact us at the email that you will find at the end of the webinar. And then I leave the stage to the fashion team.
Thank you so much. So, hey everyone, again for being here, for joining us today to deep dive a bit into the menswear fashion shows. So if we go to the first slide of this analysis, we can just come to a quick introduction. So for Fall Winter 25, we've really introduced a couple of subtle yet remarkable transitions into menswear. So we saw a lot of major houses like Gucci and Louis that were absent, but we saw a lot of fresh energy coming from, you know, Peter Copping debuting at Lanvin, or brands like Billy Chavaria in Paris, just bringing in some new energy. So we saw that the season turned from streetwear and normcore that we had like focused on previously to a more refined but expressive sense of masculinity that announced this return of the gentleman that we've been trying to track already within the menswear market. And the shows really highlighted menswear strength in craftsmanship and creative rejuvenation, where brands really managed to combine tradition with fresh ideas in order to stand out. We reimagined classic tailoring, but stayed in timeless narratives. So designers really began to blend a sense of noble elegance with contemporary sensibilities. We saw fresh takes on these traditional menswear codes like shirt and tie combinations, and also the resurgence of a lot of vintage inspired aesthetics. So overall, menswear felt a bit more softened with a focus on tactility in materials, muted color palettes, less sharp product outlines, and really the sense of balance, because designers try to connect past and future, tradition and rebellion, and structure and fluidity into these really harmonious blends that we'll deep dive into later when we come to the season's design directions. But first, we start with a quick outlook on the overall assortments to give you our data-driven statistics. So this season, you will see we've been tracking 65 international menswear shows with over 10,000 products analyzed. So when you see the data in this report, usually you have a graph where you can track the trend curve over the past seasons. You'll have a number of looks and a yearly growth rate, so you know that the data is referencing to the visibility of each trend when we look at this season in comparison to the last one. And then we've got our iconic Livetrend stems that are classifying each trend, looking at the visibility and the growth rate. And because we have both of the data, we can really position a trend in, let's say, the flow of the trend curve, saying if it's an early sign, if it's rather edgy, or if it's already reached its peak or getting there. So let's now maybe dive right into the global assortment.
Thank you, Julia. So yes, let's deep dive into some data. This is the product assortment from the show, and this menswear show product assortment clearly reflects a shift towards refined and structured dressing, with a renewed emphasis on outerwear and tailored pieces. But let's deep dive into details. So we can see that coats see a modest but notable increase of 1 percentage point, and this is reinforcing their role as essential wardrobe staples for the future winter season. Also, blazers are making a strong comeback, rising by 2 percentage points, and this is balancing classic sophistication with functional warmth. This signals also a move away from the dominance of casual wear we saw in the latest seasons in favor of elevated and structured silhouettes. Meanwhile, we see also knits and jackets are on the decline, and this is indicating a reduced focus on layering and heavy ensembles. We also see that trousers are the most showing the most significant growth. They are rising by 4 percentage points, and they point out the relaxed yet polished, sophisticated momentum, because we saw a lot of tailoring pieces during these fashion shows. And also the decline in shorts is showing a further preference for full length and seasonally appropriate styling. Latest shirts are also on the rise. They are increasing by 2 percentage points, and they are reinforcing this shift towards a more, let's say, put together aesthetic, while other tops are declining, suggesting a more move away from statement and casual wear and trend-driven pieces. So what we can say in general is that this fall-winter 25 menswear season is pointing to a refined and versatile wardrobe where tailoring and outerwear play a key role. And the focus is on timeless investment pieces, and they blend classic elegance with modern practicality, making a shift towards elevated and structured dressing. But then let's move to textiles and colors.
Hello, everyone. So let's talk about colors. The Fall Winter 25 menswear show embraced subtle yet significant color shift. The palette leaned towards timeless neutral and earthy warmth. Therefore, black, beige, and soft neutrals continue to lead the range, reinforcing a refined and versatile foundation. Gray, however, is losing prominence, dropping by 11%, while warmth and earthy brown gain traction. Here, pigmented hues that lean into rusty or burgundy are the key. At the same time, green continued to rise with a plus 131%, signaling a growing preference for organic and soil-inspired nuances. Light greens and minty shades are particularly dominant as the season pastels, adding freshness to the overall palette. Meanwhile, pink and red are experiencing a decline, making a shift away from primary bolds, and purple instead remains a constant that adds another jewel tone to the range. This color direction emphasizes longevity by favoring muted and wearable shades over trend-driven brights. So the show's color choices offer a balance of sophistication and subtle vibrancy, reinforcing the season's narrative and of modern elegance and refined styling. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. I am now gonna introduce some key insights about top materials and textiles. So the menswear fall-winter 2025 fabric assortment reflects a refined yet textured approach to dressing, emphasizing classic tailoring materials with rich and indulgent textiles. So tailoring remains, as you can see, the most dominant trend this season, with a focus on boucle yarns, tweeds, and herringbones that add depth and structure to suiting. Denim sees a remarkable surge, doubling in visibility as designers embrace more workwear-driven silhouettes. So here, a subtly worn-in and sometimes even dirty aesthetic is key. This lived-in look softens the rigid edges of classic denim, making it a versatile player for both casual and structured ensembles. Leather is also having a major moment, increasing by 6 percentage points compared to last season, solidifying its status as a menswear favorite. From polished outerwear to rugged and rebellious accents, leather pieces define fall-winter 25's edgy yet luxurious appeal. Knitwear takes a step back as other cozy materials rise in prominence instead. So furry textures stand out as key fashionable highlights, growing by 1 percentage point, adding plush volume and warmth. Velvet and sweat also see an uptick, reinforcing a preference for rich and tactile fabrics that blend comfort with sophistication, making fall-winter 25 a season of texture-driven luxury.
Thank you so much. And now that we had a quick look at the overall assortments, and just for everyone to clarify, when we're talking about a rise in percentage point, that wasn't equivalent to the percentage you could see on the screen. The percentage there was reflecting the visibility number of looks, so it's growth there. And next to it, you had the little diagram. And when you compare the number of pieces within the assortments, that's what the percentage point refers to, just to little clarify. But now we're really jumping into the design directions and the key pieces of the season to really get a glimpse. So starting with the first design direction that we've deciphered from the runways, that is called Corporate Rebels. It is really an interesting design shift that subverts the traditional office wear that we've seen in previous seasons by injecting some elements of grunge and deconstruction into these classically norm-called styles. So we have corporate shirt and tie combinations that were twisted with unexpected pairings like oversized leather jackets, baggy jeans, graphic tees, everything in order to oppose the classic structured blazer and tailored trousers. So here layering played a crucial role with, double shirts or even double layering of jackets that really exaggerated the silhouettes for an undone and anti-corporate attitude. We saw brands like UNJ and LGN that really championed this aesthetic and taking familiar office staples into new symbols of rebellion. So suiting was reimagined, continuing still with a little sharper edge, oversized proportions, often worn over rather casual streetwear pieces to really create these new combinations. It's kind of a new wave of power dressing that really rejects the classic corporate uniformity that we've seen previously in order to favor more self-expression. So the look feels effortless and chaotic and is sitting somewhere between refined and disheveled aesthetics and setting an ode to the modern businessman who's kind of refusing to conform. Now on the next slide, we're looking at some of the key components. So these are usually some of the leading materials and print options that we've spotted across the fashion weeks that can be related to each design direction. So for Corporate Rebels, we are still considering some stripes as the main prints. So overall this season, we had a big decline in prints, focus on plains that we've spotted here. But when we look at the category of prints, stripes really stood out again. So we have the classic vertical stripe, but also these sleek pinstripes that have been favored and that match within this narrative. When looking at top materials that add to the narrative, we see leather as a highlight of the season that really adds this rebellious and sleek twist, especially to this trend. So for fall winter 25, it gains a really broad commercial applicability, especially since we've seen it being introduced in previous seasons. And the trend is manifesting with a growth rate of 96% compared to fall winter 24, adding a very interesting sleek darkness, especially to these classic corporate looks. Then looking at the trend's key items, we are really drawing directly from these new and stronger material choices. So leather jackets have been featured in more than 263 looks, manifesting as a stable and crucial trend even for the next season. So here from these rock-driven perfectos that we've spotted in YSL to, pieces that are more sleek and zip up, there's a lot of daring potential within the look. Then we look at the classic corporate shirt as another interesting must-have that is infusing the narrative with this normative, uniformal undertone. So the white shirt is really continuing to take on a fashionable connotation despite its really basic core and growing by a solid 128% in visibility compared to fall winter 24. So here again, we can look at rather classic looks at YSL or reworked pieces with deconstructed colors at Dior. So you can see the white shirt's trying to really go beyond its previous blend allure.
And also for the accessories, we can see how these two vibes, like classic business attire and the rebellious twist, are mixed together. We see that leather backpacks evolve beyond casual wear and they become structured, polished, and they fit seamlessly into office-ready looks. Meanwhile, footwear is proposing statement pieces. So derby shoes gain exaggerated volumes, thick soles, and bold metal details, blending tradition with an industrial edge. And so we can see that this trend in accessories reflects a shift in menswear. So the workplace dress code is losing is a more serious allure, allowing spaces for personal expression, and formality and individuality are kind of blending and coexisting.
Thank you so much, Simona. So now from this urban rebel story, we're moving into the second design direction that we've spotted and detected across the fall-winter runway shows that is embracing this design direction that felt very nostalgic and refined in a sense of really interesting retirement-ready dressing. So this look is blending a lot of these vintage preppy aesthetics with classic tailoring, with an overall muted color palette of beige, brown, and burgundy. This really sets a tone for a wardrobe that was rooted in tradition. For the trend, a lot of these English vintage patterns like herringbone, tweed, and plaid really emphasized the sense of nostalgia. At the same time, retro-inspired knitwear took center stage with cardigans, argyle sweaters, fair-eye pullovers, everything on that note that were layered with these classic button-up shirts and really evoked a timeless sense of comfort. So classic tailoring still remained essential with a little bit more relaxed, woolen trousers, blazers, and structured overcoats that exuded old school vibes and were even enhanced in their coziness by these new warmer tailoring textiles. So everything that felt very grandpa core when it came to styling attributes like caps or polished leather loafers also reinforced the preppy undertone and this heritage-inspired charm. So here as well, layering was a bit of a interesting element to play around, to play a bit with patterns, combining them to create something fresh and add depth and versatility to the looks. So overall, this style really channels this elegance of past generations, offering this, as we call, retirement-ready dressing that is stylish, cozy, and undeniably timeless. So when we look at the key elements that are defining this trend and also spotting some of the main ingredients or elements from the season, we see, for example, everything that is kind of taken away from our grandpa's closet. So as we said before, tailoring materials, tailoring fabrics remain leader this fall-winter runway season. So they now come in wools for this cozy winter spirit, and especially striking, as we already pointed out before, are these boucle yarns that add a subtle texture dimension to these classic blazers, coats, and trousers. And then, as we said, prints are in decline overall. However, checks are really standing out as the leading print. Here, for example, in this narrative, you can see these heritage-inspired options that have manifested across multiple designers. So, for example, Xenia and Louis Vuitton, they use these neutrally graded Prince of Wales or houndstooth-based patterns to resonate an idea of timeless charm. When we look at the key products and the must-haves of this season that feature within this trend, they are really taking us back in time. So first of all, we've got pattern knits, which come in these, as I mentioned previously, argyle or northern motifs. So everything a bit more graphic, but looking back. And they have emerged as one of the core pieces. They are a safe bet for the next season with a growth rate of 27% and very big commercial appeal. So here they can come in matching combinations with cardigans or just similarly as the V-neck cardi or classic sweater. And they're calling vintage prep like no other. And then on the same preppy note, we're also talking blazers. As we mentioned before, this season remains very tailoring focused. So to enhance these comfy knitwear pieces with a sense of put together chic or elegance, the tailored blazer is really important here as a core item. It has a growth rate that remains rather stable, but this predominant visibility of more than 642 looks really makes it a crucial focus piece. So it's going to still remain its importance for a lot of markets.
And also on accessory, we can see how nostalgia is taking the lead this season with menswear embracing a vintage and well-traveled elegance. We can see with the retro bowler bags seen at Prada or Amiri that channels a sense of refined wanderlust, which is reminiscent of an era where travel was a stylish affair, we can say. And these structured, compact bags add a touch of old-school sophistication to modern wardrobes. Meanwhile, apron-toe shoes continue to rise in popularity, reinforcing this preppy grandpa aesthetic. So with their stitched front detail and polished finishings, they bring a classy yet slightly eccentric charm to contemporary menswear. We can say that these accessories aren't about looking old, but reinterpreting timeless style with a knowing wink, providing heritage silhouettes that still have a fresh and fashionable future.
Thank you, Simona. So while we've already looked at two concepts that felt a bit more put together and dressy, as I mentioned previously, that this is kind of the era of the new gentleman, we still saw some concepts or design directions that looked a bit more at workwear. And here we're shifting towards a more blue color aesthetic. So that means we're blending classic workwear with some subtle Americana influences. So within this design direction that we call farm living or ranch living, we're really drawing from these lifestyles of lumberjacks, ranchers, and cabin dwellers that are really showcasing a durability in fabric choices and colors, focusing on functional silhouettes with this distinctly Western influence. So the trend is really coming in rich autumnal palettes, really classic for fall and winter seasons, ranging from earthy beige, khaki, brown into a rusty spectrum of reds and orange. The overall look exudes masculinity with sturdy textures like corduroy, sweat, and denim that are all emphasizing on durability and practicality. Denim is playing a fundamental role, especially for a lot of these new heavy-duty jackets or oversized or overshirts and utility jeans that are all reinforcing that rustic blue color workwear feel. We also spot a lot of these Western details and accessories, think leather belts, cowboy boots, wide brim hats, everything that really emphasizes this ranch-inspired edge that is nodding a little bit to frontier style. And then for fall winter 25, this farm living aesthetic is really setting a tribute to bucolic heritage, hardworking grit, and the timeless appeal of the Americana. So for this ranch-themed story, when we look at the key ingredients and elements, we see a season that is focusing on the next slide. I'm sorry. Yeah. That is focusing on these plates. So as I mentioned before, checks and plates were one of the prints that stood out despite the big decline of prints. And these plates are really evoking an interesting lumberjack cabin feel that is very commercial, very adaptable. So across a lot of brands that we saw it being used on the resurgence of the flannel in linings from jackets or accessories like scarves, etc. So as I mentioned, it really exudes this cabin look like no other material and provides a highly commercial potential because it's really classic masculine and it's really been adapted by a wide variety of designers with 110% increase in visibility. So at the same time, we also see sweat that is continuing to grow into a new favorite material. So we see sweat being used by designers in a lot of familiar color options in order to enhance these smoothly textured animal skins that are exuding also durability and authenticity and that are ready for farming activities when we look at this distinct design direction. So when we look at the key pieces of this design narrative, we can see some of the leading casual items of the season, like the baggy jeans. So here for this trend, we see the applicability of the worn-in look that Sabrina has talked about when she was taking a look at the overall fabric assortment. So this worn out, almost dirty denim look is really amplifying the workwear, the blue color aesthetic. And the loose silhouette at the same time is adding the necessary contemporary and fashionable component. Another core item that is adding a fashionable influence into the narrative is this kind of tight t-shirt that has already been announced in previous season and is establishing as a fashion forward piece. So these tees, they feel a bit more shrunken and they are resonating a bit more of a Y2K allure and enhancing, in this specific case, this kind of Texan suburban Americana feel that makes this classic farming theme a bit more fashionable and characteristic.
And looking at accessories, we can also see a more rugged aesthetic is contaminating this category as well. We see that duffel bags take on a workwear aesthetic. They are crafted in sturdy materials and earthy colors combination, which highlights the utility as much as style, which is characteristic of this specific product style. At the same time, Western boots continue their reign. They are still rising and they strip down to their purest form. They are simple, timeless, and deeply rooted in old American pride. So this is fashion that embraces craftsmanship and authenticity, balancing nostalgia with modern practicality. Whether it's the city or the countryside, this is the spirit of the frontier, finds a place in a new and fresh wardrobe.
Thank you so much, Simona. Now continuing a bit more on a rustic theme that is also linked to this rise that we've seen a lot of these textured and more earthy materials. We have this design direction of the urban nomad that has been, going on a bit through previous seasons, but is really pushed to its high peak this fall/winter 25 runway season. So it's really interesting because it's blending rugged practicality with contemporary streetwear, especially, as I mentioned, by embracing these textured, oversized aesthetics. Here we see earthy tones like rustic browns, caramelized hues, etc., that are setting the foundation for a look that feels both grounded and adventurous. As I said, these textured and tactile materials add warmth and depth, contrasting with a lot of worn-out details that are given to the materials to create a sense of history and resilience. The silhouettes are intentionally oversized, allowing for effortless layering that enhances movement and adaptability of these nomadic uniforms, which are all, let's say, hallmarks of this modern wanderer. So we see shearling trims and some handmade finishes on the hems that lend a raw, worn-in appeal, reinforcing this collection's off-grid's authenticity. So outerwear is really dominating within the story, especially with a natural feel, favoring shearling-lined jackets, furry pieces, heavy wool wrap coats that are all ideal for braving the elements like cold and wind with style. So accessories are really completing the look with weathered leather boots, roomy crossbody satchels that you're also going to have a look later with Simona, and reflecting the nomadic spirit. Overall, the urban nomad aesthetic is really interesting to balance the functions and fashionability of the seasons. They're offering pieces that feel perfect for city dwellers who are really craving comfort and adventure within their daily wear. When we look at the trend's key components, we, as we already mentioned previously, look at these furry and fuzzy textures that have been announced in previous seasons. This time we saw a plus 61% growth rate, and the tactile material has become a favorite across a lot of the designers. It was established from coats to accessories, really on a broader range of products, and slightly moving into gaining some more commercial appeal because it's been combined, let's say, with rather leisurely pieces that kind of tone it down while keeping its cocooning sense of comfort and warmth. Then at the same time, we see denim that we've mentioned previously as one of the leading materials. That is another top trend material, and that really matches well within this narrative. Especially when we look at these faded, washed, and worn-in options that we've spotted across multiple designers, and that is giving a bit of a novel feel. These new treatments also feel adventurous, rugged, off-grid, so everything that really depicts this nomadic undertone of the season. When we look at the key pieces, we're really drawing on these materials. So as I mentioned, the fuzzy stuff is turning into fuzzy jackets. They, of course, remain a bit of a more edgy product, but it needs to be noted that they've been featured within 84 fashion shows. So basically, as we said, we tracked 65. That makes it an equivalent of one of these almost fuzzy jackets per show. So it's really been applied by a majority of designers, and in combination with these leisure pieces, as I mentioned previously, it's really been made more wearable and promises to transcend into some other markets. Then we have the leather pant, which is similarly bold as a fashion choice for menswear, but it has seen a solid growth of almost 150% for fall/winter 25. And we see that it's also using new coatings and finishings of leather, or even coatings for denim that make it look very leathery, that makes these pieces feel a little less BDSM than the previous seasons, but a bit more, you know, earthy and natural, and then actually appropriate for menswear wardrobes.
So in the accessory selection, we can also see this contamination between this movement and resilience, which blends with the utilitarian edge. And we can see, surprisingly, the bucket bag, which was once a more niche accessory, that is emerging as a key piece and is elevated by rich leather textures and also refined trims and shearling that adds a structure and sophistication to this piece, which is new to menswear, but interesting to keep an eye on. While on footwear, heavy combat boots dominate. They have chunky soles, thick constructions, and they also have rug details that give them this protective and almost post-war appealing. So these products speak to a world in flux where adaptability is key and is reflected in accessories. So style is shaped both by function, but also the storytelling that's about being ready for anything. So whether navigating the city or be ready for the unknown.
Thank you. That summarized it very well. And now we're jumping into our last design direction for the season, and that is really depicting on this sensibility that we want to dress up again, and we're moving away from basic normative fashion. We have this story or a design direction called Jazzed Up. So the Fall Winter 25 shows have really pulsed with this jazzy energy that is fusing retro elegance with a rebellious rock-driven edge. Designers try to tap into this dandy spirit that is currently reinterpreting 70s cuts with slimmer silhouettes that are feeling nostalgic and modern. So we saw brands like Prada, Vuitton, 3 Paradis, and Amiri really leading this design direction. And they managed to balance masculinity and femininity into a seamless blend of sharp tailoring and flowing fabrics, so creating silhouettes of high neck tops with fitted blazers that really enhanced or really resonated an air of refined nonchalance. So the colors played a vital role within this trend. So they really amplified the glam statement with electrifying reds, that were set within the palette, that were contrasted against these nocturnal jewel shades that also Irene had mentioned when we looked at the color assortment. So here we see deep navy, bottle green, and burgundy as these new jewel darks that are crucial for this sophisticated touch. However, we've got these cheetah prints that are slinked into the mix that inject a bit of bold and youthful charisma, and accessories that are essential like silky scarves or glossy boots that you'll look at later, accentuating this rocky allure and underscoring that direction. So overall, this trend's really not just about looking polished, it's about an attitude, about a youthful energy, and a redirection of menswear collection to sophistication, but injecting a bit of hedonism that makes it more maximalist and confident, but also a bit more young, and not just taking something from the past and, you know, just blindly reusing it. And whether that's really with reworking these fitted velvet suits, leather trench coats, or slim turtlenecks, just putting them together in new and fresh combinations. Fall Winter 25 in this story is really celebrating a man who owns a style with a sense of attitude and is commanding everyone's attention. So when we look at the style elements, so the key prints and key materials for this story, of course, as I mentioned before, for this jazzed up narrative, the cheetah print is essential. It shows a slight decrease with these minus 24%. However, as I mentioned, prints are in decline overall. So when we still look at the print category as a total, it's one of the most visible and featured prints throughout the shows. So the pattern's underlining a more daring and rebellious spirit and adds a sense of quirky and bold notion to the menswear wardrobe. Then, as a leading fall-winter material that is playing a bit on the idea of masculine and feminine, we see all of these silky and satin options that are growing by 31%, so a stable, safe trend for the next season. It is used in these fluid shirts, almost blouse-like, fancy suiting sets, or even in fashionable bomber jackets or blousons, where the shiny finish is really adding to the more maximalist undertone that feels a bit like a breath of fresh air after we've seen lots of seasons of very norm-core plain combinations and quiet luxury. So looking at the trend's key pieces, we have tracked, as I mentioned, with the satin, the revival of the bomber jacket or blouson. So here in shiny finishes or even in jacquards is really adding to this playful, fancy look. And we also see details like furry colors or overall this like shortened and cropped length that feel more youthful, more fanciful, and add a fashionable quality. And this taste for the crop is also coming through when we look at the pants and the trousers. So previously we've seen a lot of like wide leg and baggy, and that still exists. But when we look at the new influences, as you saw at Prada or Wo Young Mi, pants look a bit more sleeker, feel more dandy-ish and dressy, and that is really in line with this taste for dressing up again.
So finally, we can see also how this playful takes on elegance has contaminated accessories as well. Speaking of retro sophistication, we can for sure notice these boxy cases that step into this spotlight. And they are not just a nod to heritage luxury, because we can see that there is like a canvas space for fun details. So there are like bold add-ons like the telephone in Kid Super, but also fun patterns, patches. So it's really about elaborate on creativity and retake a twist on a common and classic piece. While for footwear, we see there is a daring turn for classics as well, with new slim, sleek shapes that are redefining these usual silhouettes. Some of them, they go sharper and refined, while others, they are more exaggerated in proportion. So they take almost an ironic twist on footwear. So for this trend in accessory, we can say there is a fresh and expressive approach to classic elegance. It's polished, but it's never predictable. So let's embrace this fun twist to conclude with for our trend presentation.
Oh, we have already finished for today. So I hope you will rely on our objective insights and reliable data-driven analysis to invest in the right trends and build successful collection, because I know you need more confidence and concrete information in this difficult economical context adapting to consumer demand. So that's why we are here to help. You have seen how many, very important and very data-driven content we can have and we can share to be really tangible and concrete. We are seeing, how our expertise has become crucial with our client, but not just getting the trend right, but also the merchandising, for example. So our client can reach us through the chat if you need some personalized information. And if you are not a client yet, why stop here when you can take your collection to the next level? Through a yearly subscription to the Livetrend platform, you can access all the reports of the menswear show that we have seen, just this little recap. You can access also the forecast for Spring/Summer 26. And we are already starting to publish the updates for Spring/Summer 26 with new fresh data. So you can study all the relevant trends for your brand, crossing the fashion show trends with the data coming from your market in the analytics, for example. So if you want to push innovation even further, we are available. Yeah, we can work with you to generate even your future bestseller with AI, you can see in the image, on the right. So if you want to meet the team, these are the next events. So from the weekend, and next week we will be in Milan for MICAM, where we are curating an entire trend area for the fair, and we will be presenting the buyer guide, an unmissable tool now for the footwear buyers, that will be presented on Saturday and on Monday and 3:30 p.m. on Pavilion 1. If you are at MICAM, we will be very happy to meet you in person. Then for the one that are in France, I will be presenting in Lille, presentation about how discover how AI is changing, the fashion industry, with other fashion key player and innovators. So please, if you are in the north of France, it would be a very nice event sponsored by EDEC, so in Lille. And of course, you can already register to the next webinar about fashion show that will be on the 18th of March. And of course, this time it will be for women's wear. And if you can also stay tuned by subscribing to our weekly newsletter to receive trend alerts, exclusive reports, and invitation to our events. So you can also follow our trend peels on Instagram and LinkedIn, looking for livetrend.co. You can scan the QR code and you will be able to subscribe to the newsletter. So thank you very much for to all the attendees. I can show you your contacts. So if you want to transform your collection and also the way you work, because this is very important, because you can really stop to do all these low value tasks and free the time, you know, for your creativity and strategy. So you can flash the QR code to book an appointment, or write to Sophie at livetrend.co if you are in Europe, or at Anastasia at livetrend.fr if you are in the East and Middle East. And if you are Italian or located in the rest of the world, you can contact me directly at barbara@livetrend.co. So we will be very happy to have your feedbacks and your question too. So if you want to write it in the chat, or just open up your microphone and you'll be able to speak. So let us know. We are here to listen.
And if everything's clear, that's even better. We just wish you like a really nice rest of the day, rest of the week, and hope to see you next time.
We have one question. Maybe Julia, you want to answer?
What are our thoughts?
Yeah, it is about what are our thoughts on the future of the quiet luxury.
So we still, I think, see a lot of growth and stable growth rates for classic products like the shirt or tailoring, etc. And we really still remain ingrained in that set of classic materials, neutral color palettes. So I think this taste for investment and timeless pieces is still continuing. However, I think it's through the little twists and tweaks in terms of styling or combinations with some more standout-ish pieces that it's made more dressy again. So as compared to previous seasons, it's not just like the full plain basic but high quality silhouette, but we go back to adding a little bit of peps, a little bit of dressiness, and maybe some interesting details that are amping up the look and make it a bit more personal, instead of, because I think people have seen that it's still getting a bit bland. Like if everyone's just buying into quiet luxury, then it's becoming this uniform look, and we're trying to break away from that while still keeping what we've kind of retained from that it's really great to have these transitional, transseasonal, investment ready pieces at hand. So I think that will be the key takeaway when it comes to the quiet luxury trend. Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for the question.
Yeah, thanks.
I can see Christina is raising the hand, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for this inspiring trend presentation. It was super helpful. And thank you. And yeah, I'm really happy to know that knitwear is one of the leading product classes. So yeah, as a knitwear designer and specialist, this is super important. Thank you so much for all the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And you will receive the replay of the webinar. So then if you want to just, focus on some slide or some focus point, you can even, get the replay, and you will get it after the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I just saw this other question that menswear is such a hot market in Germany. What would you recommend as key items for such a market? So definitely focusing on these classic items, but as I mentioned, like really work them out with the details to make them a bit more personal and choose the right color combination, etc. Maybe focus on innovative textiles, but don't overdo it with shapes. And there, if you subscribe to the platform, like we have a lot of reports where you can really understand which details stand out. For example, we've just launched or dropped an update for the shirt, because we know that for menswear, the shifts are not always that dramatic, and it's really about finding the right product details. So there, feel free to reach out if you really want to have a specific update or information on the category.
You're welcome. And also, Julia is based on Germany, so she knows well the market.
That's true. And otherwise, I think we're like reaching almost an hour of Fashion Week Insights for Men. So with that, I think we can conclude, and stay tuned. You'll be getting the link for the replay after the webinar. So you'll have everything again summed up.
So thank you very much to everyone, and thank you very much also to the team, because they did a very wonderful work. I think everyone agree. So nice to hear from you by email or by the chat if you are already in the platform. As we said before, all the reports are already published for our client. So see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.